Sutton Leadership Show, lighting the way with real leaders, real stories, and real impact. Because when leaders stop growing, the darkness wins. All right, welcome back to another amazing episode of the Drew Sutton Leadership Show. Today's guest, Stephen Patek. All right, born in Cincinnati and forged through the creative grind, Stephen Patek is a serial entrepreneur, storyteller, and filmmaker whose journey spans film sets, tech boards, and Kentucky real estate. With a broadcast degree from Eastern Kentucky University and a self-described opportunistic spirit, Stephen has built a career by boldly crossing industry lines, from managing IT at Apple to producing bold, offbeat films like Transmetro and 2 Weeks to Slow the Spread. Mentored by George C. Romano and pitching to Netflix by 2020, Stephen's creative hustle now lives at Wild Arms Entertainment, where he develops IP that pushes the boundaries beyond the screen. He's the brains behind the Budget Beauties property tour series and a licensed realtor transforming how stories and homes are sold. Whether behind a camera or a contract, Stephen's mission is clear: build stories that move people and projects that make an impact. I love it. I think you guys understand why I have Stephen on the show. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Stephen.
Hey, Drew. How you doing, man?
Good. Woo! I pulled up the placard and I started reading, and I was like, "Oh,
we got through it. It's okay. It's okay."
All right, cool. Well, Stephen, so you have, I think we connected on LinkedIn, and I think on your LinkedIn bio it says something like IP of all sorts, or grabbing IP of all sorts.
Yes.
How did you decide? Yeah, I want to buy, sell, create creative material.
I'll tell you what. The when I first got into IP and really started utilizing that term, it was my first, literally my first run out of the gate. And it's not that I was necessarily led astray on purpose, but I learned something very, very high level first starting out the gate the hard way. I took somebody's intellectual property without asking. I was told it would all be okay. And I ran it through a mentor of mine, and he wasn't really he was helping me along the way. He was giving me insights and do this, do that. But then he kind of got busy and he wasn't paying full attention to me.
Yeah.
I put something I got a team together for under 5K. So it's you've got a short film under 5K. Okay. The routine disciplines are in place, but I kind of charged ahead and found different ways to navigate. I'm I'm going to get this in front of somebody. It's going to happen. I'm going to do it. I actually took the pitch to Netflix. I was watching a workshop. I clicked on one of those random little blue links. Hey, click here now. 5 seats available. Pay $135. Now to get into a workshop, that's almost unheard of. You have to go through all these hoops and bounds. So opportunity. And I got in front of the Netflix content selector, Christopher Mack at the time, and he was like, "Hey, I'm busy. I got to take something." I paid for 30 minutes. I got his assistant. First thing she asked me is, "Do you own this?" I'm like, "What do you mean, do I own the IP? I don't understand what that means." She goes, and she was going to cut the call. I'm like, hold the phone. I paid for 30 minutes. So walk me through the process. If I did this, if I own this, what would the process actually be like? So then she started to go through 30 minutes of, here's the entire, if you buy it, if you own it, then you go through this entire, I think it's 20 different steps.
Oh, goodness.
Probably a lot longer than the podcast will allow, but end of the day, if I had owned that IP, I probably would have taken that deal and I would have gone down to Atlanta to be a junior producer in 2018. So it was a whole different ball game. So but I still charged ahead. I have something that's not mine. I basically get a real quick tutorage, 30-minute consultation phone call. If you had owned it, here's where you could be in 6 months.
Yeah.
This is all, COVID is a year away.
Yeah.
And so when this is all transpiring, I said, okay, I'm going to reach out to one of the guys who actually owns this. I was calling it, the way it was conveyed to me, it was called the Creator's Blessing. And so I went for this, and the guy basically gave me the silver glove brush off. He's like, "I don't care what you do with it," which to me, I was like, "Oh, that's permission."
Yeah.
Well, no, it wasn't permission. It was, "Oh, well, hey, I'm just going to forward this to my attorney." So then I get a call once I release this thing on Reddit through YouTube, gets a massive amount of traction, like stupid a massive amount, because it was a fan film for something that people, the comic book existed since the 90s. 25
Yeah.
years later, or like, yeah, I think at that time it had been 20, no, 20 or so. So many years, a couple decades pass, nobody gets anything. I filled a need, but they didn't like it because Warner Bros. Wasn't thrilled about the idea of, they've never done it. Some rando from Kentucky does it. They were pissed. Uh,
Hmm.
I got a call within 24, 48 hours. Take this down, or we're going to sue you for copyright infringement. This copyright is worth this many millions. And I'm like, I jumped back. It took 6 months. I found one of my connections, another mentor of mine, is connected with Disney Acquisition and Development Department. So I start looking around. I'm like, well, how does Disney do it? He gives me the insights. We find writers. We go mining for IP early. We scour the internet looking for IP, bare bones projects, and then we offer those people a buyout right. And then we collect it in the Disney portfolio, and then it becomes part of our cataloged library.
So,
And
all right, I'm gonna just highlight on this because I
yeah,
love this. I myself have 30 patents in helicopter design, so I know a little bit about IP law, and
yeah,
there is a whole subgenre of what is called patent trolls. And what
mm,
they do is they wait till somebody has a big success,
yes,
and then, like you did, and so somebody goes out there and prospects and does the great work, but they don't close up, they don't like sew up all the IP, and then
hmm,
they trace that back down to all the patents that lead up to that patent. And
yes,
then you go to the owner of the patent and they say, hey, um, I noticed that this patent that's like just about to expire. We buy patents all the time. Here's like $600 in a stick of gum. Can we buy it from you?
yeah,
And the guy's like, yeah, sure, I don't care. And then they take that and they go to Bell Helicopter or to Boeing or to whoever.
mhm,
And then they say, hey, listen, we own the underlying IP for all this entire product line that you made. So we would like lots of commas, 3 commas at least, if you would. And then,
yeah.
yeah. So this is like this is common. And like, I think everybody hates people that do this, like waits until somebody does all this hard work and then, stabs them in the back. But anyway, so
It can be
continue.
frustrating, but now I have an entire process. So I basically, when I'm working with a mentee or a development project, I'm using the principle of my business, acquisition and development, is for I basically, it's to buy it, build it, sell it, right? Acquisition it, build it up. It's kind of like buying a piece of property that needs work, right? The
Yeah.
intent is to flip that thing to make it worth something. So I buy it bare bones. I work on it for a while, maybe do a couple work for hires, and then
Yeah.
at the end I go find somebody. And this is the underlying, like that's an entire um, industry opportunity that is there for people who want to, like, do that, break in, work on those types of projects. They're out there. That's part of what I do.
Right. And I think that we all understand this from a real estate perspective, right? That
Mhm,
makes sense from a real estate perspective. I have some friends that are in the oil business, so they're
mhm,
landmen. So they
mhm.
run around and they buy options. They don't pay the whole price. They buy the option to buy the oil rights in the next 2 years or 3 years or something like that. So they'll
Yes.
go to a valley and they will buy the option to buy the oil rights for like, I don't know, $1,000 per person, and then they'll get 30,000 people, 30 owners to give them those lands. Then they package all of that up and they go to Shell or they go to BP and they say, hey,
Mhm,
listen, you guys are drilling on the other side of this mountain range, but I have all the land on this side of the mountain range. And
mhm.
then they sell the package. So
Yes.
there's some similarities here in the worlds.
Oh yeah. I mean, if when you operate, across industry, you recognize it's like these things wouldn't necessarily be seen in the same wheelhouse, unless you know. I didn't operate like this in the beginning. My entire thought process was building a portfolio, right? From a different perspective, I have a portfolio, and then in real estate, you're like, okay, I build a portfolio. Same thing in film. It's like once you can kind of identify the similarities, you can figure out how to like cross weave them, and then go find the
Mhm.
people, and then make it work. So that's principally what I do.
Yeah, I'm actually in love with buying boring businesses. There's a lady named Cody Sanchez that I love her rhythm. I love her philosophy. There's another guy named the Comer Office, I think I follow.
Yeah.
But the idea is you find boring businesses and from baby boomers who are aging out. They're like, hey, I don't want to run this thing anymore.
Yeah.
And then you essentially jump back to buying real estate 0% down, buying real estate with no money down, and use those principles to buy the boring businesses. I love it. I think it's fantastic.
I have a buddy out in Arizona who is who's working on doing that with small construction, handyman, plumbing, HVAC. So he's working on buying all those up to do the same principle. Like I have these conversations with him pretty routinely. He's just like, where are you at with the process? What's next? We start talking the numbers on it, or the EBITDA and all that good stuff. So it's like, okay, cool. What's next?
I love it. Now you're physically in Kentucky, right?
Yes, I'm located in Berea, so I'm right, maybe within, maybe not even maybe a mile or less from the Appalachian foothills. So I get in my car and I drive maybe 3 minutes, go to the Pinnacles, and I hike. That's one of the Budget Beauties episodes. It was a Wednesday. I took my drone with me and I did an impromptu. Well, I like to hike here, so this would be cool. I bet there's more trails out there. Let's make it happen. It was like all of 1 or 2 takes, and it's kind of like, I'm going to get up here. I know how to do this enough now that even if I don't like it, I'm like, well, that didn't work, so I'm not going to publish that. So if it had rained, I wouldn't have published it. I'd have just raced to got my drone down.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah.
No, I love that. I love one of the things that you're there is when you have the skill sets, when you know how to tell a story, how to architect a story, how to film a story, how to edit a story.
Yes.
It literally becomes free to make the next story, or just trivial amounts of effort. So, for those that are watching the show and they're like, well, I don't really know what to do with this marketing thing. That seems like a lot of effort. It's worth developing the skill because you'll use it buying film, you'll use it buying businesses, you'll use it buying real estate. Learn how to produce content, and then it's there forever. So let's talk Kentucky. First of all, how did you make it to Berea? For those that don't know, Berea is this just charming town, kind of the artsy town here in central Kentucky. So why Berea, and how'd you make it here?
I was living in Richmond for a while and I got into real estate, and it was studying it for a while, and the opportunity, I was looking for a duplex so I could figure out getting out of an apartment and getting out of an apartment and start house hacking. I followed the Grant Cardone method. He had mentioned I started looking for a house, an SFR, single family residence, and I was watching some of his podcast interviews, and he goes, I would buy a duplex and here's why. And I thought about it. I'm like, that's actually that's a brilliant idea. So I shifted within, I think, 3 to 6 months of looking for a house, bought a duplex. I've been house hacking ever since. And Berea, honestly, it took, based on the marketplace, to find exactly what I was looking for, it took about 4 years. And that was, that was probably, that was a couple hundred property walks to several realtors who weren't really that interested in helping me find, oh, you're a house hacker? Kind of like I gave them the ick. Every time I was looking for some way to make my way, make an entry, I gave people the ick. And the same time, the same thing with filmmaking. It's like every time I tried to find a barrier to find an entry path, it was like people were like, I'm like, so I've had to figure out and kind of like, navigate my way through to find a way in, navigate, find a way in, navigate. So that's that's how I became an opportunist. It's like whatever opportunity is available, take it and go with it.
Yeah, because success builds, right? There's a flywheel of success. You get this little contract, you get this little deal done, and then eventually you're a guy that does deals, which is identical to the guy trying to get into the deal world. But I don't know what it is about us humans. We give the ick. So what's your advice for overcoming the ick for folks that are starting out?
Are you trying to overcome which variation of it? Is it people looking at you, or you looking at yourself and feeling the deal is wrong?
that got super deep. Let's talk about you looking at you and saying, all right, this deal, man, it's a good question. All right,
I guess internally it's, how do I feel about what I'm trying to get into right now? Is it me just trying to do it just to get it done? Or is it me trying to do it because it's what I want to do? I've done projects where it's just, I'm just trying to help somebody out, and that's always the wrong. Don't put yourself in position just to help somebody out. It's always, what do I want to do? What do I feel is right? What is going to help me move forward? And when people are looking at me, I've had that a number of times. I'm just like, I just stopped talking to those people who, they're like, because then the word travels, and it's like they know each other. I would say before I bought my current place, it was like a year prior, and the guy who was I wanted an inspection done, and the guy knew a guy I was working with. He calls that guy while I'm within 100 feet of him, and he goes, "How do you feel about Patek?" Well, Patek's okay. Yeah, no, he's just kind of He was and the guy's like, "Okay, well, that doesn't give me a strong feel about it." So he passed me over. I was going to
Huh.
close, and I was like, I would one of the top entries to this piece of property, and somebody basically, whether he was trying to keep me down, or he didn't know what he was doing, or he was given a real, like, he should have said, he's a great guy, solid, has a lot of integrity, he can, and it was all, in the end of the day, it was because I wanted an inspection done, and the guy said, I'd rather just sell it as is. I think it's kind of there might be something going on, but I don't want to deal with it. So I asked for an inspection, so he killed my offer off.
Man, like there's so many, like I'm mad for you, but I'm also like, this is the real aspect of business. It happens in the corporate world.
Mm-hmm.
Man, because I used to be in the corporate world, and I try to tell everybody, listen, you're always interviewing for the next position.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, this is a public show, so I'm trying to think what I could say. I was in engineering, right? So in order to be a chief engineer, you have to have an engineering degree. Like you can't have a 2-year degree. I know that's frustrating for a lot of people, but it's just what it is. Well, the only way you can be a chief engineer is you had to have been a really good principal engineer, which is right below chief. I remember several conversations that, for me, talk about giving the ick, that I was like, my bosses were asking questions about different people that I was working with, and they were like, well, do you think they can really cut it? Not at this level, which they probably would have been pretty good at, but at this next level, because we can't spend time on them. We can't waste the cycle of learning here. Anyway, people can kill the deal because they're mad at you because you said something snide to them in a meeting like 3 years ago. And people hold on to things for a long time.
Honestly, I've come to find, unless somebody needs to know something, I've kind of like, I'm normally under the radar. You're going to see, the things I'm doing. It's going to be a massive my goal is to kind of hit home runs just straight out of come, like in a baseball term, come out of the dugout, smack the home run, go back in the dugout. Like
There you go.
that's how I want to operate if I can help it. Or only provide like top dollar value. And then, again, it's like the principle of only provide the value and then go back into deep work. I spend a lot of time in deep thought and deep work trying to figure out how am I navigating next, and what's the most, the most amount of value I can provide. Not shotgunning things left and right, trying to dabble. I'll dabble in my own time. I've become a dabbler over time. So
I chase a couple of shiny balls myself. It is a challenge. And in fact, all of my customers, all my clients, the first conversation we have is, what are you doing? Let's work the mission, because you need a mission to say no to all the other things that aren't core to your mission. And your team needs to know what to say no to, because the team is trying to, let's say they're like, oh, well, we need to reduce costs on this. And you're like, no, I don't really care if I'm spending a little extra there on how we paint the kitchen. We need to buy more buildings, or whatever it is. Like you gotta have a really clear mission. All right, let's talk a film. Now you've offered a very, very cool giveaway here, 10 steps to produce a film.
Yes.
And because in Kentucky we have this really big tax credit, so let's start talking about the Kentucky tax credit here. I'm excited about it. It's an incentive. It's a little bit of a pull. I would like to see some stronger pull happen. I would like to see the film industry start up in Kentucky. Tell me about your experience doing film in Kentucky, your breakthroughs, and let's talk the tax credit here.
Yeah. So with the tax credit specifically, it depends on, and this changes every quarter based upon bureaucratic legislation. they are going to have their, and I've been privy to these meetings. I've sat in on them. I've done the interviews where they say A, B, C, and D. Does it meet these things? A lot of it revolves around, are you making the state look good, right? They want things that make the state look good. And most counties are going to offer 30%, or they'll have the high incentivization counties. We started calling them hotspot states at 35%. It's varying and it changes, and you have to keep your eye on it. And having somebody on the inside, this is kind of like hint, hint, wink, wink. Having somebody who knows how this operates is like imperative to getting back that money. Imperative to when you put in a certain amount. I actually just printed this out just so I could have some of the updated like definitions and this and that that's been added. So principally, for an in-state LLC, right? So if you're a Kentucky business and you want to produce let's say a feature film, television program, commercial, right? Kentucky-based LLCs, the minimum threshold spends $125,000, right? And if you're an out-of-state company wanting to produce in Kentucky, it's $250,000, right? Now, that can a lot of people the Kentucky film program, I call them the tax bureaucrats, but they have basically come to identify that when it was first starting up and it first changed around here in the last 4 or 5 years, so many people were abusing that system as it was getting developed, as it was getting established, where I'm not going to say what set this is on, but I got a personal release from a set of a project I was on where they were utilizing one of those loopholes in the personal releases alone, and they were bringing people from out of state. They would house them in state and say everybody is using this as your address. Like they would send out, here's your addresses. And from the back end, I don't know, because I wasn't a producer on some of those projects. I was just involved to see how they were operating, because it's like you want to know the ins and the outs so you can help other people navigate. Laws are going to change. Right. But you want to know the ins and the outs of these things. So there's my key recommendation is always follow the law, because
that's good. We on this show agree. Always follow the law.
Absolutely. Yeah. Follow the law. It's just like, it's not hard. I don't want to spend the rest of my life in jail, but that's just me. I can't speak for them.
What I like about this, and this has like come through in many of the stories you've told on the show here already, is the deep work. It's not even deep. Like I feel awkward saying deep, but is the deep work that you're doing. So you're in this creative industry, right? I mean, you do real estate, but then you also do the film. And so film is very creative. I don't know that you can get more creative than film. But all of your stories are about the hard work to secure the IP beforehand, to master the individual skills. You said basically, I joined this project because I knew I wanted those skills. And so I did the work, and then I print that out and I stay current on, and I talk to the legislature, and I know the law so that I can succeed. And I think that is, I think maybe it comes from Steve Jobs. We talk about like kind of like the pirate entrepreneurial spirit that like, oh, I'm just going to buck the system and those guys don't know what they're doing and I'll just go out. No, real business owners that make a dent in the world, master the law, master the skill sets, and then it's really easy for them to execute the creative side. I think it's I love that aspect of everything that you're talking here.
And the other side of it is, navigating I operate on percentage of error, right? So when I've been working on the project and up until this point, I started establishing what's called percentage of error. What's the percentage of error that this is going to happen or that's going to happen, or on another project, we were concerned that some of our Kentucky spend-based expenditures for in-state, out-of-state payroll, in-state, out-of-state vendors were going to be eliminated. So we really started having those phone calls, and we came down to the understanding of the Excel sheet of spending is like, we're going to allow ourselves about $5,000 above the minimum threshold, right? I think we ended up with, after all, like we spent about 200,000 on the project. And then after the bureaucrats go through and say, this, they start knocking everything out. We were just at the applicable expenditures were like at 142,000. So I gave us within 5,000 to be safe. I'm like, we can't get any lower than this. Conveniently, our compliance manager, she was great. She really said, "Hey, we want you guys to succeed. We recognize that everything done on this particular project was you followed everything to a T. We we made them. We had a bit of an issue, and this is where I will go into due diligence. But we had a bit of an issue with the original CPA processing before we had to find a new one and rebuild everything from scratch, and all that good stuff. But end of the day, we squeaked through at 145, 142 of 125 requirements, and our compliance manager was great about it. I remember being like, we were coming down to the last 4 days, and it's like the last 4 days and the last 72 hours and the last 24 hours of like getting through the finish line of getting everything filed, processed, accepted, done. And then we just like this eerie dead period. And I was like, I was on the phone with her like multiple times a day. Hey, we got this done. Hey, we got that signed. Hey, we got that re-signed and updated and processed. Hey, we got that done. There was a lot of that. And what it really came down to was two things: was the consistently staying on good communication terms, and two, something I would highly advocate, because I didn't understand this until it was about over, was the Kentucky Film Office in the actual industry, the use of the term production, right? The Kentucky Film Office has a different definition of production versus industry terms. The Kentucky Film Office originally, when we were doing the process, did not recognize pre-production and post-production. Those are three different types of productions, right? Hey, we're done spending. Well, we made the mistake of, saying, hey, we're done with production. We didn't say anything about post-production, right? So we had to go back and redo, and it was like we use the same term differently. And that's a key thing. I was like, make sure you have the exact same definitions of the same terms.
This is like medical billing. I have a friend that actually makes good money. This is before AI, but his system would take in the work that the doctor or the practitioner had done, and then code it to the max appropriate coding for the insurance billing cycle. And I think people don't realize this. The words in a contract are according to a legal dictionary, and that word does not mean the word that you think it means.
I
will.
Sorry, I'm talking over you. Go ahead.
No. Yeah, I'm just highlighting that. Becoming an expert on the language, the legal language, and the vernacular language, those are two different things, and they can really bite you.
My girlfriend's an attorney, and we've had that conversation a few different times about the definition of a word, right? What does it mean? How is it written? And then basically the reprocessing of the understanding of the word. And as an attorney, it's, can we debate that? Can we debate the percentage of error? I've had some really fun conversations about that. She's probably watching right now laughing. But
actually, so this is actually when I do leadership work with people. The first thing we do is we describe our mission, right? Which is words. That's just words on a page. Like you write it down, you put it on the wall. Then I say, listen, the mission statement can't live on the wall. It has to live in the mouth of the people that are doing the work, right? And the language has to be simple enough that they quote it to each other, even if they make fun of it to each other to some degree, right? It means that it's in their mind, it's forefront on their brain. And then I work with the leaders and the management. I say, look, you need to start crafting, like, let's say that, you always say, well, it's not a penguin, whatever little silly word phrase, catchphrase that you use. You need to kind of purge those useless ones that you have, and you need to curate your random phrases. I got this from Winston Churchill. So the story goes that Winston Churchill arrives at the cabinet meeting 45 minutes early, and he's just sitting in his car, and he's just sitting in his car, and he's sitting in his car. And his driver says, hey, sir, we're here. And he goes, oh, hold on. I'm just rehearsing my casual. I'm rehearsing my casual thoughts. No, or I'm rehearsing my casual comments or something like that. So basically he's thinking through, what casual things do I need to drop in this conversation to move people, right? And so arguing about what does this word mean is actually it's debate, it's influence, it's leadership.
And let me at least provide that. So, and I'm not sure if it's changed. So if you're processing a film in the state of Kentucky, understand that the Kentucky film bureaucrats have a different royal understanding of the terminology for production. Pre-production and post-production are all production. So don't file your paperwork until after post-production is done, because production to them is the understanding that all the money that's going to be put into this project. So in post-production, you're working on like your VF, your video effects, your special effects, your sound effects, your compositions, your lights, all these after effects, sound
Yeah,
effects,
which is
after effects,
crazy important for a film.
credits, all that stuff. Once the very last dollar is spent, that is when you file full expenditures. Don't do any of that stuff until the very last dollar is spent. Done. End of story.
I love it.
That would
I love
have saved us a lot of grief.
Well, there we go. All right, so let's talk.
Mhm.
Where would you like to see the film industry in Kentucky be in 5 years and 10 years? Do you kind of like the way it is? Do we need to start like devoting a substantial amount of land and studios? Where would you like to see the film industry in Kentucky move to?
I think that there's a lot of opportunity in the Louisville area, and there is growing opportunity in Lexington and some of the other surrounding cities. I think some of the other larger cities could be a little bit more involved, like Frankfurt and Versailles. Lexington's doing a good job starting off with Lex Studios. You got Missy Wrigley behind that. It's kind of like as the pioneer behind that team. Tim Sabos and all those folks, like really building and developing something else. I think I think also having a meeting with one of my mentors, George Romero, out in Mount Sterling in the next couple of days. And one of the things that I'm going to be talking to him about is his is called the Eastern Kentucky Film Commission. So
Okay.
out on the eastern side, there's a lot of talent out there, but when you're out amidst the farmland and the mountains, and it's limited. So trying to make your way, 2, 3, 4 hours to these Central Kentucky is the opportunity zone, right? Central Kentucky is where it's at right now, or at least a couple of hotspot cities. Kentucky has the opportunity to be like the next Atlanta, but it's going to take a bit of time, and there has to be a lot more support, stability, infrastructure, and people working together. Like the biggest thing, the biggest, and I don't allow it to stop me in any way, shape, or form, but Louisville right now, it's very cliquish. There's a lot of gatekeepers. It's very cliquish.
Yeah.
And I'm not a clique kind of guy. I've been told you need to be, participate in more of these conversations, and like, yeah, I can and I will, but it's going to be selective, because it's like I like my solitude, my thinking time, and when I go into a conversation, damn it, it's going to be worth it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
and with people who are moving things along, with people who are visionaries, with people who are getting shit done. Sorry, I didn't mean.
No,
But it's
good.
like,
No,
that's just
on
the fact of the
brand.
matter. I don't want to go into conversations where it's like you're beating you feel like at the end of the day you get out of that conversation, it's like, how do I feel about this? I've had one of those in the last couple of weeks, and I told a buddy about it. I'm like, I feel like I feel not it was yeah, I was trying to like going round and round and round to accomplish one thing, and I don't think I got it done. And I'm like, I'm just not calling that person anymore. Like, I just feel like I wasted my time on that.
No, actually, I've fallen into a couple of centers of power or centers of influence, right? And so my New York network is expanding pretty quickly.
Mhm.
Columbus, and Cincy. I'm actually super excited about it. They're super fun people, and all of them universally, and I'm not, all of them have commented that in Kentucky,
Mhm.
two phenomena which you've kind of pointed at. One is we're pretty cliquish. Like if we don't know you,
Mhm.
to the point that if we don't know the area code that you're calling on, we don't answer
Mhm.
the phone.
Yeah.
So there's kind of a closedness in Kentucky. And then the second one is um, people will have a conversation to be nice. So we're like, I'll spend, they'll like go and meet you for coffee. It's a
Mhm.
30-minute coffee, it stems into an hour coffee. They say nice words. They want to encourage you.
Yeah.
They want to support you. And by the, they're just emotionally supporting you. Like, oh, I think you're doing great. Make your thing
Yeah.
happen. You go up to New York, you go to Columbus, you go to Cincinnati, And folks expect action. They're like, I took this meeting because we were going to do something. I'm
Mhm.
expecting to decide if I want to do it. And if I do want to do it, I'm writing a check. I'm making the next meeting. I'm making the introduction.
Yeah.
Um, it's a different pace, but it's not that
Mhm.
much more frantic than we are. It's just more intentional. Like when we show up, it's
Mhm.
to make a deal happen. I like it. I think that's a good challenge. I'd like to see Kentucky um, kind
I
of
think they
shift a
need
little
to, I
bit.
think we could do better. We need to remove the ego. You
Yeah.
remove the ego from it. The I'm this, I've had that on several phone calls. People will like, the intro you provided to me, right, would have that would have been them talking about themselves.
Right.
And I just kind of sit there and I'm just like, that was the strangest thing I've seen in a while. What else? So here's why we're in this. You try to open up with some pleasantries, and it's like they just given you, "Hi, I'm a number one author, and da 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 da, and I produced this and that and this," and it's like, "Oh, okay, I see who you are. Got it."
Yeah.
So the
I,
the top tier people, I swear, the top tier people I've talked to who are accredited investors, they don't start like that. In fact, my favorite ones, hey, I saw this thing, and they reached out to me, and they're like, so they're excited. They don't talk about A, B, C, and D. They say, I would say, how can I find you? Who are you? Oh, well, if you want me to prove who I am, sure. You just look me up on IMDb, or I think one of the other websites is called Guru Focus. So that's another. You can look up Guru Focus for people. You can
yeah, I
look
like
up.
that.
Yeah. I think that's. I was most recently looking up. I was most recently looking up politicians because, from an investment standpoint, I was kind of curious. There was an app called Autopilot, and Autopilot lets you see your favorite politicians and what they've been investing in lately. And
Oh,
Nancy Pelosi is always the top of the bar. I'm just like, that's really interesting. What's Nancy going into the defense stocks?
uh,
Oh, she's been making a lot of bank on defense
hey,
stocks.
it's not insider trading if you're just following with the public
Yeah,
information.
absolutely.
That's
So
funny. Well, let me we're running a little bit short on time. I
sure.
do want to pull one more conversation, then I'm gonna give you the floor real quick.
Okay.
When you go about making a film, and this is kind of my personal view, is there's a lot of films that have been made that didn't need to be made, and that's a lot of energy and a lot of investment. I'm going to pick on the Saw movies. Entertaining movie, not saying it's edifying, but certainly entertaining movie, right?
Yeah.
Like there's some intense emotions that fly up. But I ask myself as I watch one of those, or I just read the synopsis of them so that I can talk about them if somebody asks. Um, I don't know that that movie really needed to be made. I think it made money, like the investment cycle of a horror movie. I mean,
Yeah.
you have a very low actor price, and you
Mhm.
can do it all in a very small production space, and it has good return. But I don't know that we needed to make that movie. Um,
So a couple things on that, and I know where you're
yeah.
going on this. One, new Sinners with Michael B. Jordan is a rare example of new content. But from an investment standpoint, I just had this conversation with a gentleman who is working on. He's associated with The Last Rodeo, right? The one from Angel Studios,
Mhm.
and he's basically saying, with the way the economy is, with the way investment is right now, people are less like investors are less interested, and studios are less interested in putting money into new content, new IP, when they have proven track records of the saws of, I almost said saws and jaws. So the Jurassic Parks, of the Indiana Joneses, the things that have a proven track record of success. We could just recalibrate that story. I hate to say it, that we'll use AI on some of those scripts. I just
Oh
say
yeah, totally.
recalibrate this. And in this one, Indiana Jones is, going to a Buddhist temple to, or my bad, maybe an Egyptian temple to get the Emerald Tablet or something like that.
Right, right.
But why would you put money into a new unknown if you knew for a fact you could get continued revenue from existing IP, right?
Yeah.
And then on that horror genre, horror thriller is the top grossing genre consistently year after year after year, has the largest fan base across all genres. And well, there's a couple things that a line producer had told me on a TV movie. She's like, if you do this and this, and you round up about X amount of dollars, you're going to sell it no matter what.
Yep.
Because we're on air, it's blank and blood. If you have blank and blood, you're going to sell it. You know,
Yes.
like, you know, round up at least a couple 100,000, talk to somebody, it's got blank and blood, and it'll sell. So if you take a
Yep.
look at horror movies and say, you know, why did they show that at least once? What was the purpose of that? I would most of the time it's going to be wives and girlfriends, and they'll be like, why did they show? What was the purpose of that? I've heard this before. What was the purpose of that? And then I look over and go, well, that's why it's sold right there. That's
That's
why.
100% why it's sold. Yes. It's the great moral assets involved in the movie.
Yeah.
Um, no, so this is as we start the Kentucky film industry, which I'm excited about because Nashville has music, right? Nashville, a lot of money in Nashville, and artists are there because of the music industry. I think it's exciting to have a film industry in Lexington, Louisville area.
Yes.
But as we develop it, I hope that we can remember that just because it makes money doesn't mean we should make it, and to make things that are to be courageous and make things that need to be made, and to make movies like the How You Train Your Dragon, brand new movie out, pretty much copy and paste to the original, the animated one. I have kids that are a little bit separated, so I watched the original animated one with my first kids when they're young, and then my second, you know, Livy, we went and watched and it was a delightful movie. It was, you know, a story of a kid trying to figure himself out, but it was a remake. To your
It's a
point about the
recycling
remake,
of IP. Yeah, it's a recycling. That's you're going to see. So all the original Disney animated movies, Lilo and Stitch was the most other recent release, right?
yep,
That's an example of recycling IP. It's make the live action thing and regain all of that. So when you see those things, I mean, they're great. You know, they're well done. But at the same time, that is a key example of just recycling it. So when people say, "How come my movie can't get funded?" I'm like, I mean, right now it's a little tough. It's doable if you have the right story and the right marketplace. And I would encourage that as well. Take a look at the marketplace. What is selling? Why is it selling? You know, the American film market in itself is a great place to go if you've never been before. Get the experience. We took the project M30 Oxy, which is about basically the drug epidemic in rural Appalachia. That we took that to the American film market, and after like 200 or 300 no's, we got a yes. So we played the numbers game, and it was the first time going there, and it was a little bit like, you know, we just kind of had to like, hey, we're here for this period of time, let's make it happen. You know, 2 to 300 no's. That's like, I look at the numbers like, okay, well, how many properties did I walk before I found my place? Probably 1 to 150 properties before I found the place I'm living at now. So you have to keep at it. Like that's you don't like giving up's not an option. Just keep going until you get it done.
I want to harp on this number for a second. I was an engineer for a large portion of my career, right? And I ended as a chief engineer for Lockheed. So basically I wasn't in sales is what I'm trying to drive at there. So my first experience with numbers was during COVID. I had a 3D printer, and we started 3D printing the little visor things. So like we printed them for free. So I did a GoFundMe, and I said, listen, you know, if we get this level, I'll do this many. If we get this level, I'll do this many. So we ended up printing 100 of those little visor things. 100 of anything is a lot.
Yeah.
Like you hit about 50 and you're like, this is getting a little bit boring. Like this is frustrating. So we live in a world where we talk about, you know, I think Apple just a couple years ago had the first $1 trillion year of revenue, and in our national budgets, we're into trillions. We're gonna have to come up with a new number here shortly. But 100 is actually a lot. And when you personally are running, you're making the call, you're sending the email, you're getting rejected. 100, 200 is a lot.
That's a lot of it's a lot of conversations. It's a lot of emails. It can chew at you a little bit. You know, it does get a little bit demoralizing, but it's like, okay, well, what's the alternative? You know, I don't know what the alternative personally. It's like the alternative is you stop and you fail and you move on, or you learn a key piece of information during this process. That's normally what happens to me. Is I'll learn a very key piece of information. Like when I failed with my first run out of the gate, anytime I show that to somebody, it's for Transmetro 2021. It's a portfolio piece only. But at the same time, you know, that what stood in the way, it's a Stoic quote, Marcus Aurelius, what stands in the way becomes the way, right? So
Mm.
for me, intellectual property being brick walled and not understanding the process transitioned from a series of 6 months of failures and interactions, right? To now that's what I do. Intellectual property, purchase and development, and then sales. You
Right.
know,
And the flashy part, which is the sales part, which is the new project part, is only enabled because of the boring part that everybody wants to skip.
yes, actually. So what I guess let me throw this out there just because I told my guy that I would.
Do it.
We are working on the project is called Left Behind. It's a veterans PTSD inspired short film. We came up with a very emotional experience type of script. We spoke with veterans, both the writer director Chris and I have experience with veterans, friends, family, and otherwise, right? Just people in the community that we know. A couple mentors of mine are veterans, and listening to the stories over a period of time, and I was kind of gravitating that way. And we were having a conversation about it one day on set, and he's just like, "Hey, are you interested in doing something like that? Because I've got this script, and it's like X number of pages long." And this was a few months back, and now we're in the okay. We've got it. We've gone through the process of the precipice, probably the starting process, right? Now
Yeah.
we're in development, and next we're going to go on to third stage is battle testing. So, and actually, if you take a look at this, the 10 steps PDF, I go through that. It's called the treatment. He had it in the treatment phase. A couple weeks later, it was first draft. Next, we're going into roundtabling, where we gather a handful of people up, we read the script, we allocate roles to people, and then we say, based upon the read, how do we feel about it? Does anything need changed? And then after that, we're going to start within the next, I'd say, within the next 4 or 5 weeks. We want to start shooting something, like be ready to go by the first or second week of August. But yeah, Left Behind is going to be a very emotional, impactful story, and that's the kind of stuff that Wild Arms goes after. Is this the kind of stuff where like your jaw drops or you're just like in tears because you felt that emotional impact, you felt it, it hits you viscerally, and you're going to leave going, "Holy crap! I need to do something about that, or get involved, or call somebody."
This is why I most wanted you on the show, not this exact project, but
Mhm.
the ability to make documentary, to make film, to
Mhm.
architect the story and the production, to motivate people to move, right? It's the Drew Sutton Leadership Show, and our job is to shine a light in the darkness. It's not everybody's job to do everything, right? Like there's
Yeah.
donor fatigue. I'm not talking about that. But our job is to shine a light in the darkness so that those who are called to solve the issue can
Mhm.
get about it and get it done. I love the work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
Off the show, I'm going to talk to you about mission critical influence, which is where I help combat veterans learn to speak and to tell stories like from the stage.
Yeah.
Um, Similar passion. I spent my whole life as an engineer in the DoD world, designing weapons for our veterans, and
Mm.
so I have a big heart for them as well. That's super exciting. Um, we are running out of time on the show, so I want
Yeah.
to give you a platform. If folks are investors, if you're on here and you're an investor, if you are a producer, if you're a young person that wants to get in the film industry in Kentucky, um, how should they reach out to you? How should they connect you? Just here's the floor for you for the next two or
Yeah,
three
yeah,
minutes.
absolutely. So you can reach out to me at Steve at wildarmsentertainment.com. Again, Steve at wildarmsentertainment.com. And you can also reach out to me direct. My phone line's public. I answer the phone unless you come up as like spam, or you're talking to me about, my Google business needs certified, 859-544-0890. Again, 859-544-0890. I'm open for discussions, development calls, property, all that kind of stuff. So if I can help people move along somehow, I'm for it. So
Awesome. Well, I think Steve is being a little bit humble here. He's done amazing things. He's done what I love is that he's bringing to Kentucky the real art of producing meaningful films. He also does real estate. So if you are local person, you want to sell your house, if you're looking to offload some real estate, reach out to Steve. If you are an investor, and I really kind of feel like there's somebody out there, if you're an investor, you have a story to tell, you're like, this story needs to be told, and I have a little bit of money to start the process, reach out at Wild Arms, Steve at wildarmsentertainment.com. Tell him you saw him on the Drew Sutton Leadership Show. And with that, we are out.